All right, NBL, welcome back to the Extra Point Podcast, episode number 16. I'm your host, as usual, Tom. I got my co-host here, Project Fat. And right now in NBL, we're getting ready to head into Week 12 here soon. Really getting towards the end part of the season, so the division winners are really starting to get locked up. The races are getting tight. You don't have too much room to wiggle at this point. So why don't we go ahead as usual, start off breaking down the divisions and what's currently going on. So Project, why don't you start us off with the AFC over there?
All right, sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the AFC East this time through. And as of right now, Tout finds himself in a very unfamiliar position, sitting at 8-3 atop that division, very, very close to making his first playoff appearance. And hopefully I don't jinx him, but I think he has a good shot at doing it. There is some new ownership in Buffalo, as we know. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do down the stretch, if they can hold some things together. A couple of big wins in back-to-back weeks in Buffalo. New England definitely falling off, as well as the Jets. So 4-7 for New England, 3-7 there for the Jets. Down to the AFC North, Pittsburgh has come back on top there, kind of assuring its dominance there in that division. Cleveland not too far behind there, though, at 7-4. And then Sonny Weaver and his Cincinnati Bengals have definitely fallen off quite a bit this year. Sitting at 5-5. Not something you're used to seeing with them, but they are third in that division right now, just in front of the Baltimore Ravens, sitting at 3-7. Next division, we are looking at the AFC South. We got the Indianapolis Colts. It looks like they have a very, very good chance of being back to back there, winning that division. Currently sitting at 7-4. We got the Titans sitting at 3-8, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans both sitting at 2-9. They're at the bottom of that division. Like I said, Colts have a good chance of getting that division once again. Then we go down to the the AFC West, where the Kansas City Chiefs are leading that division at 9-2. Something a little bit different than last season. The Denver Broncos and the Oakland Raiders are both sitting at 5-6 behind those Chiefs. Broncos obviously have fallen off quite a bit. Some rough quarterback play there in Denver isn't really helping them right now. Oakland as well, once again sitting at 5-6, having some issues of their own. Both of those teams, though, do have a chance, an outside shot of making the playoffs and a possible wild card. Then we move on to the San Diego Chargers, who are very close behind those two teams, sitting at 4-6, rounding out the bottom of that AFC West. So the playoff picture as it looks now, you have the Kansas City Chiefs as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers sitting at 9-2. The Miami Dolphins sitting at 8-3. The Colts sitting at 7-4, and those are your top four teams right now, all leading their divisions. And then the Cleveland Browns and the Buffalo Bills right now holding the two wild card spots at 7-4 and 6-5, with the Bengals, Raiders and Broncos sitting on the bubble there. But that is kind of where we are sitting right now.
All right, so yeah, a couple things I wanted to touch on here for your AFC. Definitely, as you said, an unfamiliar spot there for Tal at the top, who currently has the longest NBL playoff drought. I'm sure he wants to see it end this year, but it's going to be tough. Looking at his schedule ahead, he has an extremely tough game next week against the Chiefs, who are 9-2, so that's going to be a big game for him. And then possibly his biggest game of the rest of the season is his Week 14 game. He's going to face off against the Bills. And if he wins that game, that's going to give him a huge boost in the division, even though it's only one game. Still going to be a huge boost because that's who his most likely competitor is. So that's probably going to be his biggest game that he's looking for after that. But even after that, he follows finish up the season with the Saints, Panthers, and Falcons. So it's going to be a tough road for him. He's got a tough schedule. But I think out of his last 5 games, if he can win at least 2 of those games, I think he's got a real good shot. 1 or 2 of those games, he's got a shot to make it. And also, I want to touch too on the your division, the AFC West. It's different seeing the Chiefs back on top. New owners come in. Who's actually the champion here of NBL Season 2. I am the Prince. And it's different seeing him on top after Backley and his Broncos dominated last season. And like you said, as you touched on, he's calling for some errant QB play, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them go for a QB in the draft here. But anyway, we'll bring it over here to the NFC. So we'll start with the NFC East. My Giants here on top, 10-1. Eagles and the Redskins close behind that, 7-4, and Cowboys 2-9. And even though I have a big lead here and started off strong, it's definitely not over because, as I said, the Redskins 7-4, 3 games back, and I haven't played them yet. We still have 2 division games against the Redskins, so if they win both those, I could still take the division. So it's still open. NFC North, that's already locked up. Bombers Lions are 10-1, and after that, it's just a mess down there. Vikings 2-8, Packers 2-9, and Bears 1-10. The Lions could set the rest of the guys halfway through the season and still win the division with ease. It hasn't been too competitive over there. Last year it was a little bit more competitive, so hopefully they're able to pick it up next season and give Bomber a little bit of run for his money. Otherwise, they'll be looking at like an 8-peat NFC North champion here. Head down to the South. Our last undefeated team here, the Falcons, 11-0. I don't know if he's going to lose one this year. His team's red hot. Matt Ryan's been playing great. Even though he signed Kaepernick, who we all thought was going to replace Ryan, but it doesn't look that way. And then Panthers behind him, 6-5, Bucks 5-6, and the once New Orleans winless Saints have picked up 3 wins this season, so it's a big booster, 3-8 for the Saints. And then we'll head over to probably our most clustered division in the NFC here is the NFC West. You got the Rams leading 8-3. The 49ers right behind them at 7-3. The Seahawks right behind them at 6-5, and Cardinals 4-7. Who mathematically they're still in it, but it's going to be a long shot for them. So looking at the playoff picture here, we have the first seed is the Atlanta Falcons 11-0, and then the Lions and Giants are next at 10-1, and then the last division winner here is the Rams at 8-3. And wild card, we have one team from the West, the 49ers, 7-3, and then right now the Eagles hold a tiebreaker over the Redskins for that 6th seed at 7-4. But we still have the Panthers and the Seahawks right behind them, 6-5. So as we're going down the stretch, all these teams are within about a half game from each other to a game of each other. So we could see some shuffling there. As far as on top of the division, though, it's pretty much going to stay the same. Like I said, the NFC East might change, the NFC West, but it looks like the Lions and the Falcons pretty much got their divisions locked up, so that's going to stay as is. One thing I want to touch on, though, was as talking about Bomber and his Lions here with dominating their division. A lot of people might be looking for them to repeat back-to-back Super Bowl champions, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's really been surprising, actually, if for anyone who's been following the stats, to see the downfall of Matt Stafford here on the second half of the season. On the beginning of the season, he was, and I think Bomber wrote an article recently on it too. He was dominating when they were 8-0. I think he said he was 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Dude was just shredding defenses like no other. And then come the second half, and it's like a whole different Matt Stafford came out there. I believe he said it was 7 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. They're winning games, but they're barely winning games against teams that they really should be dominating. Do you think he has a chance to 2-peat here as we're coming down the stretch?
Honestly, I don't know. I would honestly not think so either. If he continues to play this way with Matthew Stafford, because that's kind of been his bread and butter a little bit, is his quarterback and play that he brings to the team. And like you said, the second half's been much different. I think it was bound to change a little bit because that team on offense, especially throwing the ball, was fantastic. Calvin Johnson's was having a great season, still is to this point, but has definitely fallen off a little bit. I just think that once again, it's going to be between him. The Falcons are playing very, very well, still undefeated. Your Giants also playing well this season. So I think he has a lot more competition. It's not going to be as an easy of a road for him, maybe as it might have been last year. But I do think that if it's going to happen, the quarterback's got to improve drastically coming up to the playoff run.
He definitely has the experience, so I could see him turning it around, but it's going to be tough. But maybe it's going to click with him and Stafford, and it's going to turn, and then he'll just be dominant like he was in the beginning of the season. Yeah, it's to be determined. So real quick before we wrap it up, we'll get our Super Bowl predictions. We always do our Super Bowl predictions. You know it's pretty early. Might as well say them now. So why don't you tell me who you have going to the big game this year?
All right, will do. So, first I want to kind of talk about who I think is going to make it to the championship games on each side. First, AFC once again, kind of talk about them a little bit. My first one I think is very easy for me. Is the Kansas City Chiefs. I can sit here all day and talk bad about them because they're in my division. But bottom line is this: they're the team to beat right now, in my opinion, in the AFC. If I can sit here and complain once again, but I need to come out and be able to beat them just as well as everybody else needs to. So definitely the strongest team in my opinion in the AFC, Kansas City Chiefs. I do think that they are going to be facing the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship game, but then I think the Steelers will fall short to those Kansas City Chiefs. I just think not only are they efficient on offense, but their defense is very, very good as well. A lot of turnovers for that defense, so I think that's going to be the difference there. And then in the NFC, oh man, again, I think we're going to see a little bit of a change, this year. I truly think that the Lions are going to get close, but I think they fall short. And I'm going to have to say that I think it's going to be the Falcons against the Rams. I'm going to go with a little bit of a Cinderella story here. I think the Rams can make it into that NFC Championship game, but I do think that they also fall short to those Atlanta Falcons. I just think that they, had a little bit of an offseason last year, but I think they're bringing it back together. So that'll give us the Falcons and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And truthfully, I think the AFC brings it home. I think the Kansas City Chiefs can win that Super Bowl. I think it'll be a very, very good game, very competitive, but I think it'll be final score. I'll even call a final score. I'll call it 24-20 will be the final score in that Super Bowl. Kansas City over the Falcons.
All right, and I really hate to agreeing with you just for the sake of having some diversity and a little competition between ourselves between it, but I honestly cannot go any other way in the AFC there. I truly do think that the Chiefs and the Steelers are the top two teams there right now. I think that they're going to be tough to beat in the playoffs. I know even though this is I Am the Prince's first season here, since he's been back, he does have the experience because he had one NBL season 2, back then, and then Lip has the playoff experience. He's been there quite a few times before. He's done great things picking up some defensive players, and he's really been able to get his offense clicking on all cylinders this year. So I think they're definitely going to be the top two teams, and I do also agree with you that the Chiefs are going to win. I did play them, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and their team is great. They have great defense, great offense. It's really an all-around good team. So I definitely agree with you that the Chiefs are going to go. As far as the NFC is concerned, I like your pick because the Rams are a great team. As they gave me my first loss here this year, and they've been playing with their quarterback hurt the whole year, so they're playing a backup, and they've been getting 8-3 with a backup, which is it's phenomenal to say the least. But despite that, I don't believe that. I always believe you should have confidence in yourself, so I couldn't pick any team other than myself to go to the championship game, and I do think it will probably end up being the Falcons and the Giants in the championship game. I do think that the Falcons are back to that dominance that they had in season 1, where they were just rolling over teams. I think they're back again this year, and they're gonna try to make that Super Bowl run. But like I said, I always think I can beat anyone. I think anyone in the league has to have that same mindset when they're going into the game. So the way we've set ourselves up this year, I had to put myself in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and it's going to be a close game. I think he might edge me out this time, though, because I did beat him in the regular season, but truly, it was a lucky game. He had me beat for most of the game. I think he's going to capitalize on and not make the mistakes that he made last time, and he's going to be able to bring home his second Super Bowl here in the league. But one last thing before we go here, we have our next promotion here on the in NBL, and we're going to thank this to APV and his Vikings here. We announced details what was it, last week and a half ago. As we're coming to the Super Bowl here, the real life Super Bowl, APV sponsoring a $50 promotion. As we get the team set in a couple weeks here, everyone's gonna DM train the final scores that you think each team's gonna have, and basically, as we did with the Thanksgiving games, it's going to be whoever's the closest without going over for total for the scores, and whoever the winner is going to get a $50. I believe it's $50 Xbox gift card. He said it was. So a huge thank you there to APV for sponsoring this next promotion here. We're going to have an NBL. But that's going to be all the time we have tonight for our episode. So we'll be back. We'll try to hit it back here in week 17 or week 16 to give the closing statements for how the big picture is looking for the playoffs. And one thing we wanted to do last year, which we weren't able to do, but I'm definitely planning on doing this year, is I think we're both going to make our own playoff brackets once the teams are set, and we'll go ahead and get those in the next podcast. Hopefully, like I said, week 17. Hopefully, most of the teams are determined, so we can go ahead and get that bracket out, and just be a little fun thing to look at and have a little competition. But that's all the time we have, like I said. So thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast.